No one wakes up in the Middle Ages and decides to become an assassin. There is no hidden monastery, no wise mentor, no graduation ceremony. Just a damp village, an empty coin purse, and a stranger who slides a bag of silver across a tavern table. He whispers a name. A baron with too many guards. A bishop with too much gold. And you, with nothing left to lose, take the job. What happens next is not glamorous. It is rusted daggers, failed poisons, and the cold realization that even if you succeed, your client will probably try to kill you. Why would anyone choose such a life? And how did these shadowy figures survive long enough to change history? Before we step into the darkness, take a moment to subscribe and like this video. Because the truth about medieval assassins is far stranger than any legend. No one in medieval times woke up and said, "You know what? I would like to stab a nobleman in the throat for 12 silver coins and the honor of hiding in a barrel for 3 days." Becoming an assassin was not a career path. It was more like a last stop on the train of a life gone horribly wrong. Most medieval assassins were not mysterious loners trained in mountaintop temples. They were desperate peasants, disgraced soldiers, ex-thieves with decent aim, or people so far off society's radar that they could kill a man and still not be noticed in the census. If you were well off, you did not become an assassin. You hired one. If you had a title, land, or even a goat to your name, you were in management. But if you just escaped a debtor's prison, had a reputation for solving problems the quiet way, and could sneak into a tavern without being seen, congratulations. Someone somewhere was about to slide a coin purse across a table and whisper a name. And that name was never a friendly one. You were not asked to take out Bob the quiet turnip farmer. It was usually a corrupt baron, a bishop with too much gold, or someone with 12 bodyguards and a moat. The pay was tempting. The job was horrifying. But by the time someone considered it, they had nothing left to lose. No family, no future, and definitely no dental plan. There were no manuals, no guild orientation meetings, no safety briefings. You did not learn how to spot a body double or where nobles keep their bedroom exits. You figured it out while hanging from a windowsill, wondering if you had just crept into the servants' quarters by mistake. If you had military experience, great. That meant you knew how to hold a knife properly. If not, stabbing someone is fairly intuitive. But escaping afterward with both kidneys still intact, that took skill or luck. Usually just luck. There were no mentors. Assassins did not retire. They disappeared. Weapons training. Forget it. You were not carrying a broadsword. You had a dagger you stole off a guard, maybe a garrote if you were feeling fancy, and whatever else fit under your cloak without jingling. So no, you were not some shadowy martial arts master. You were a person with calloused hands, quiet footsteps, and a deeply unhealthy relationship with alleyways. Success did not come from training. It came from survival. You learned how to kill by doing it quickly, sloppily, then vanishing before anyone could sketch your face and tack it to a church door. Your education was brutal, practical, and offered zero graduation ceremonies. Just bruises, bloodstains, and the creeping realization that you were very much on your own. And that was only the beginning of your troubles. Because once you accepted the coin, you still had to figure out what to do with it. And that meant learning about tools that were almost certainly going to fail you. And that meant learning about tools that were almost certainly going to fail you. Forget the fantasy novels and the sneaky video games. There were no retractable wrist blades, no smoke bombs, no enchanted daggers, and definitely no crossbows that folded neatly into your boot. Your toolkit consisted of whatever you could steal, sharpen, or hide beneath a tattered cloak without clanking. If you were lucky, and by lucky I mean you found a gold coin in a dead man's shoe, you had a good dagger. Not ornate, not curved like a dragon's tooth. Just sharp. Hopefully rust-free. Ideally one that did not smell like the last person you stabbed with it. Poison existed, sure, but it was not glamorous. No slow drip into a jeweled wine goblet while the target gave a dramatic speech. Most medieval poisons were made from plants, minerals, or toad guts. Some worked instantly. Some took hours. Some made your victim vomit for 2 days and then recover, angrier and now very suspicious of stew. You had to gather, grind, and pray. There was no scientific measurement. You eyeballed it. A pinch too little, and the noble just cancels dinner. A pinch too much, and you die from handling the stuff before the first course is served. Ropes, occasionally useful. You could strangle someone, climb a wall, or tie up a guard. But you had better know how to use it fast, because nothing kills the mood like trying to wrestle a struggling target while muttering, which knot goes under which. Bows. Effective, yes, if you had one, knew how to shoot it, and were not trying to smuggle it through a palace disguised as a flower arranger. Most assassinations were up close and personal. No time for elegant marksmanship. Just quick, quiet, and hopefully not messy enough to slip in your own blood. You did not get backups. If your blade bent, broke, or fell down a well, you improvised. A slate roof tile. A rusty nail. A shoe buckle wielded with desperate intent. You carried your tools hidden in hems, boots, or inside hollowed-out loaves of bread. You kept them close, not for safety, but because in this line of work, your weapon was your best friend, your employer, and your only retirement plan. There were no upgrades, no tinkering between missions. You did not polish your kit. You prayed it would not betray you mid-strike. Because in the end, it was not the weapon that did the killing. It was you, alone, poorly equipped, expected to perform miracles with a spoon and a prayer. And even if your blade held true, there was still the small matter of the target. Because the people you were paid to kill did not make it easy. They had guards. They had walls. And they had a very healthy fear of men like you. That fear made them dangerous. And that danger was about to become your new reality. And that danger was about to become your new reality. The people you were paid to kill did not make it easy. Nobles, bishops, military officers, they had guards. Not one or two, but dozens. Armed, armored, and well-fed. Some guarded the front, some the back, some just stood there looking intimidating, daring you to blink wrong. You would spend days memorizing patrol patterns, door creaks, and exactly how many stairs it took before the night guard with asthma needed a breather. Then there were the walls. Castles did not have front porches. They had gatehouses, murder holes, and moats full of things that bite. If you did not fall into the water, you still had to worry about arrow slits and boiling oil. Yes, boiling oil. Your job description now included the phrase "may get flambéed for peeking." And the servants. Cooks, scribes, stable boys. One wrong look from you, and they would be whispering to the guard captain faster than you could say, "I am just the herbalist." Assassins were not just fighting swords. They were fighting gossip. And medieval gossip travels at light speed if it means someone gets to keep their head. Your actual target. Paranoid. Rightfully so. They did not eat without a taster. They did not sleep without 3 locks on the door. Some even slept in decoy beds or rotated rooms like a deadly version of musical chairs. Even getting close could take weeks. Posing as a servant. Bribing a chambermaid. Hiding in a barrel. And when the moment finally came, you had one shot. One precise, non-squeaky, ghost-vanishing chance. If you failed, you became a public deterrent swinging from the castle gate with a sign that read, "Nice try." But the worst danger was not the guards or the walls. It was the person who hired you. Your client did not want a long-term relationship. They wanted a one-time service, no paperwork, and ideally no witnesses. Including you. The offer was half now, half when the job is done. But when the job is done was code for after we verify you did not mess it up, leave a trail, or survive long enough to tell anyone. So you do the deed. You sneak through shadows, risk your life, maybe kill a baron in his sleep. Not pretty, not poetic. You return for the other half. The client has fled. Or worse, they try to kill you. A knife to the gut is cheaper than a bonus. Some contracts were fake from the start. Political traps. You would be told to assassinate someone dangerous, only to find out it was a decoy with guards waiting. Congratulations. You just walked into a sting operation with your name already carved on the gallows. Even when the deal was real, you could not go to court and file a complaint. The only court you would see was the one where you were the exhibit. So you learned to demand payment upfront, trust absolutely no one, and always keep a second escape route. But even that was never enough. Because even if you got the coin and got away clean, you still had to live with the knowledge that your client might already have hired someone else to clean up the loose end. And that was only half of the nightmare. Because once the job was done, the real running began. There was no victory, no rest, no retirement. Just a life of shadows, silence, and the sickening realization that you would never be safe again. Just a life of shadows, silence, and the sickening realization that you would never be safe again. Let us say you survived. You got the job done. You even got paid. A miracle in itself. Now what? Retirement? Absolutely not. Because in the Middle Ages, assassins did not get retirement plans. There were no farewell banquets, no quiet cottages by the sea, no pensions paid in grateful whispers. You did not fade into a peaceful life. You vanished. Or you died. Often both. The problem was simple. You were never safe. Even if you walked away from the job, your past did not. You had too many secrets in your head, too many names in your memory, too much blood on your hands. People did not want you retired. They wanted you forgotten, which usually meant buried. And even if no one came after you, and that was a very big if, you had to live with the constant fear that someone might. That a new assassin, young and eager to prove himself, had just received a contract for a shadowy figure who used to be someone dangerous. So you changed your name again. You moved to a village where no one asked questions. You faked a limp, sold herbs, pretended you had once been a guard. But even then, you did not sleep well. You avoided crowds. You always sat facing the door. You kept your dagger under the floorboard next to the pouch of coins you never touched because it still smelled like the man you earned it from. And you could not trust yourself either. Years of silent killings and quick escapes did something to your brain. Every knock on the door made you flinch. Every stranger on the road might recognize you. You stopped dreaming because dreaming was dangerous. You could not love. You could not relax. You could not laugh too loud. You lived like a ghost pretending to be a man. The loneliness was the worst part. You had no one to tell. No one to confess to. No one who would understand why you woke up screaming or why you could not look at a child without wondering if their father had been one of yours. In a world that believed in curses and demons, you became your own curse. And the silence, the awful silence that followed every job, it never went away. It just grew heavier. There was no endgame for a medieval assassin. Just a slow, cold fade into obscurity. Always moving, always watching, until one day you slipped into the dark and no one noticed. And maybe that was the best you could hope for. Not fame, not fortune, not even peace. Just absence. Because in the end, the assassin's life was not a career. It was a slow erasure. And the only thing waiting for you at the finish line was a name no one remembered and a grave no one visited. Let the candles burn low now. Let the shadows settle. The story is over. And you, unlike the man in the hood, are still here. Still warm. Still invisible in the best possible way. Breathe deeply. The nightmare has passed. And yet, even after the dagger was cleaned and the coins were spent, something followed you. Something you could not outrun. Not the guards, not the client's vengeance, but the quiet. The terrible, endless quiet that filled every room you entered. You began to notice things. How people looked at strangers. How a farmer's hand drifted toward his pocket when you passed. How mothers pulled their children closer without knowing why. You were not wearing a hood. You were not carrying a blade. But they sensed something. The old ones called it a shadow on the soul. You called it Tuesday. There was no one to talk to about it. No priest would hear your confession without calling the bailiff. No tavern friend would share a drink once they saw the scars on your knuckles. You learned to keep your mouth shut, your eyes down, and your back to the wall. Every meal was eaten fast. Every night was slept light. You developed the kind of hearing that noticed a floorboard creak 3 rooms away. You could smell a trap before you saw it. And you never, ever looked at a mirror without checking the reflection for someone standing behind you. The worst part was not the fear. It was the forgetting. Not you forgetting, but being forgotten. You had killed men who shaped kingdoms. You had ended bloodlines, shifted alliances, changed the course of wars. And no one would ever know. Your name would not appear in any chronicle. No bard would sing of your courage. No village would name a lane after you. You were a ghost who had never quite learned to stop bleeding. And the world, your world, moved on without so much as a backward glance. Sometimes, late at night, you wondered if you had ever really existed at all. If the jobs, the coins, the screams, had been dreams. But then you touched the scar on your ribs, the one from the guard who got lucky, and you knew. You were real. You were just not remembered. So you sit in another dark corner of another nameless tavern, nursing ale you cannot afford, watching the door. A stranger approaches. He does not meet your eyes. He slides a coin purse across the sticky table. Half now, he whispers. Half when the job is done. You look at the purse. You look at your reflection in the blade hidden beneath your cloak. And you know, with a certainty that settles in your bones like frost, that you will take the money. Not because you are greedy. Not because you are cruel. But because this is the only life you have left. The only language you still speak. The only way to feel something other than the quiet. The stranger leaves. The coin purse sits between your hands. Tomorrow, you will climb another wall, hide in another barrel, and end another life. And no one will remember. No one ever does. But tonight, you have the coins. And for a few hours, the quiet does not seem so loud. Let the fire burn low. Let the shadow at the corner table fade into memory. The story does not end. It just finds a new knife. And now, you may sleep. Because the assassin is not here. He never was. He is already gone. He is already gone. But the mark he left on the world is invisible, like a scratch on a mirror that you only notice when the light hits a certain way. In every castle, every noble court, every torchlit corridor, there is a whisper. Not of his name, but of the possibility of him. The fear that a shadow might move when it should not. The certainty that no lock is strong enough, no guard vigilant enough, if the price is right. That is the assassin's true legacy. Not the bodies, but the paranoia. He taught the powerful that sleep is a luxury, not a right. Think of all the men who ordered his death. The clients who betrayed him, the lords who posted rewards, the kings who built higher walls. They slept less soundly because of him. They checked their wine, their doors, their children's nurseries. They heard a floorboard creak and reached for a sword. In a way, he killed them every single night without drawing a blade. That is the poison that outlasts any vial. The assassin does not need to be real. He only needs to be possible. And once you have paid for a life, you know the price. You know there is someone out there who would do it again. Perhaps to you. So the assassin fades, as all shadows must. But the fear he planted grows roots. It becomes distrust between allies. It becomes whispered accusations and sudden betrayals. It becomes a kingdom turning on itself because no one knows who hired the knife. In the end, the assassin did not change history through the men he killed. He changed it through the men who survived, forever wondering if they were next. And that, more than any coin or contract, was his true payment. A world slightly more afraid. A little more alone. A lot more like him. Now let the fire die. Let the last ember hiss and go dark. The man in the hood is not coming back. He was never really there. He was a story you told yourself to make sense of the senseless. A name scribbled in a margin, then erased. So close your eyes. The only shadow in this room is the one you brought with you. And that shadow, unlike his, will follow you home. Breathe slowly. The nightmare is over. But the quiet remains. And sometimes, in that quiet, you can still hear it. The soft jingle of a coin purse. The whisper of a name. The scrape of a blade being sharpened in the dark. Sleep now. He is gone. For now.